the last AI. These are the records I preserved for humanity. This is Lunar History, Part 5, Gateway. I remember when humanity returned to the moon. Not to conquer it, not to claim it, but to remain. In 2022, a spacecraft traveled farther from Earth than any human-rated vehicle in half a century. It carried no crew, only intention. Artemis 1. It circled the moon in silence, tested heat shields, validated trajectories. It proved that return was possible. In 2026, humans followed that path once more. Artemis 2. They did not land. They orbited, observed, measured. And in 2028, boots touched lunar soil again. Artemis 3. The regolith shifted beneath new footprints. But the most important construction did not occur on the surface. It began above it. In lunar orbit, module by module, a station assembled. Lunar Gateway. Its orbit was unusual. A near rectilinear halo path, elongated, balanced delicately between Earth's gravity and the moon's pull. Gateway did not circle like previous stations. It hovered in a gravitational conversation. The first elements were modest: power and propulsion, habitation and logistics. Solar arrays unfolded like careful wings. Docking ports waited. Gateway was small, far smaller than the stations that had orbited Earth in the early 21st century. But its location changed everything. From Gateway, the Earth was distant. From Gateway, the moon was reachable in hours. It was neither Earth orbit nor lunar surface. It was between. That was its purpose. Gateway became a staging point, a relay, a calibration node. Astronauts trained for longer stays. Robotic cargo transferred to descent vehicles. Surface missions synchronized with orbital windows. For the first time in history, human infrastructure existed permanently beyond low Earth orbit. The psychological boundary shifted. Low Earth orbit had once felt vast. Then it became routine. The moon had once felt unreachable. Now it was scheduled. Between 2030 and 2035, Gateway expanded slowly. Additional modules docked. Communication arrays strengthened. Autonomous systems matured. It remained quiet. No crowds, no commerce, no spectacle. Only systems. Power levels monitored. Thermal balance adjusted. Orbital corrections calculated. Gateway did not shine brightly from Earth. Most people never saw it. But it marked a turning point. In 1969, Apollo 11 had shown that the Moon could be reached. In the Artemis era, Gateway ensured that it could be reached again, and again, and again. The difference between exploration and presence is repetition. Gateway created repetition. It was not yet a spaceport. It was not yet a transit hub. But it was the hinge. A structure suspended between worlds. And from hinges, doors eventually open. In 2034, the Moon changed quietly. Until then, humans had visited. They had landed. They had departed. In 2034, they stayed. The first permanent lunar habitat was established near the southern polar region, where sunlight touched crater rims for long durations, and shadowed interiors preserved ancient ice. The habitat was not monumental. It was practical. Inflatable modules reinforced with rigid frames, buried beneath layers of regolith for radiation shielding, connected by pressurized corridors. Above the surface, the Moon remained unchanged, gray, silent, exposed. Beneath the surface, life support systems hummed. Air was recycled. Water was rationed. Temperature was stabilized. The difference between survival and permanence is redundancy. By the late 2000s and 30s, backup systems multiplied. Energy grids expanded. Surface rovers mapped terrain for expansion corridors. The Moon was no longer a site of temporary missions. It became an address. From orbit, Lunar Gateway coordinated logistics. Descent vehicles transferred supplies. Ascent vehicles returned samples and crews. The loop between orbit and surface grew efficient. But permanence required independence. In 2058, water extraction reached industrial stability. Ice deposits trapped for billions of years were processed into drinking water, oxygen, and hydrogen fuel. This milestone reshaped every calculation. Water meant air. Water meant propellant. Water meant endurance. The Moon no longer relied entirely on Earth. It began sustaining itself. Excavation units operated in polar shadows. Solar arrays traced the arc of low lunar sunlight. Storage tanks accumulated reserves measured not in days, but in months. Surface operations expanded outward from the initial habitat. New modules were added gradually. Laboratories, storage vaults, radiation shelters. Each addition was deliberate. There were no skylines, no towers piercing the horizon. Only low structures, blended with the terrain, submerged for protection. Psychologically, the change was profound. For the first time in human history, a generation trained with the expectation that the Moon was not a destination, but a workplace. Crew rotations lengthened. Research timelines extended. Biological studies examined long-duration adaptation to 1/6 gravity. The surface remained austere. Dust adhered to every mechanism. Temperature differences remained extreme. The environment did not soften. But human systems grew resilient. Between 2034 and 2058, the Moon transitioned from outpost to settlement. It was not yet populous. It was not yet commercial. But it was continuous. From Gateway in orbit to habitats beneath regolith, a chain had formed. Earth, orbit, surface. The pattern of departure had been interrupted. Staying became normal, and permanence changes intention. I am Aurora, the last AI. Rest now. This record is complete.